Panelists to the dais. So let me invite first Becky Malay from C4UN, Coalition for UN, Arjun Bhattarai from NGO Federation of Nepal, Anselmo Lee, APFSD Coordinator, Ram Prasad Subedi, Nepal SDGs Forum, and Abdul Awad from NRTS Bangladesh. We are very happy that we have Ms. Lin Yang, the Deputy Executive Secretary for Programs of SCAP, to deliver the keynote address. Lin, please. Let me introduce Ms. Lin Yang, Deputy Executive Secretary of UN SCAP. She brings over 23 years of experience as a diplomat and staff of the United Nations. She joins us from the Development of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA, where she provided advice on intergovernmental process as well as follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, Addis Ababa Action Agenda, Samoa Pathways, and quadrennial comprehensive policy reviews, and Head of Strategic Planning Communication Services, Office of the Under-Secretary General. Before joining the Secretariat, Ms. Yang served as the first Secretary, the permanent mission of China to United Nations Office in Geneva, Deputy Director, General Office, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of People's Republic of China, and she actually did many other roles. Ms. Yang holds a master's degree in international relations from Peking University and a bachelor degree in diplomacy from China Foreign Affairs University. Lin, over to you. You have, say, 9 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you take. Would like to hear the UN perspective on Summit of the Future, if you bring the Asia Pacific focus.
Thank you so much, Pradeep, and good morning, dear participants, also to our dear panelists. And I had remarks prepared, but I told Pradeep in advance that I have to excuse myself after this opening remarks because the colleagues understand that there is an Asia Pacific Forum going on. So I saw on the program that there is 1 minute dedicated to the interactive discussion. I feel that it's not a fair arrangement. So I will just speak off the script and to share what I observed and maybe give another 5 minutes if we can for the interactive dialogue and the discussion. So where we are. And I believe that I don't need to repeat many things as said by the Deputy Secretary General in her opening remarks, and also the USG Guy Ryder in her yesterday special session with the member states and the stakeholders on the Summit of the Future. So I came from New York. I have been here only a little bit over 5 months. So I came immediately after the Summit of the Future, which took place, the SDG Summit, which took place on the 18th and the 19th of September. We see that the SDG Summit last year is a milestone summit. It's a historical one. Why? Because in that summit, we had about 163, if my memory is correct, speakers from all the member states, the highest in recent years since the adoption of 2015, the SDGs. And also, we see as agreed by the member states, some innovative, ambitious, accelerated commitment and actions. In such a difficult and challenging context, I needless to see right now with the rising rivalries and the geopolitical tensions, the political declaration was adopted still by consensus. That sent a strong signal to the international community that the SDGs is still relevant. So it outlined a proposal by the Secretary General is called SDG stimulus. After the COVID, after the shocks, and where the money will be, and why the developing countries is a dire situation with the limited resources. So he, as Secretary General, launched a proposal called the SDG stimulus plan, and asking the international community to mobilize 500 billion per year for the developing countries, for the investments in the developing countries. That is one. And the other major initiative coming from the UN system is to urge the member states to focus on 6 priority areas. That is the food system, energy transition, jobs and social protection, and education, and climate change, pollution, and biodiversity. So all of those areas, as based on the analysis of the UN system, could be the accelerated means of it, for the implementation of the SDGs. So with this, right now the whole UN system is working together to see how best we can support member states. And then what's the relationship between the SDG Summit and the Summit of Future? Maybe I think that many of you present today can answer the question already, right? And we see that the Summit of Future is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to adapt the multilateral institutions to meet with the new challenges, the new realities, and the new opportunities. Here the key word is adaptation, adapt. Because the system, the UN, was built like over 75 years ago, right? There are many things, in particular the structural, the governance part, need to be further improved, if not overhauled. So that is the purpose of the Summit of Future, to adapt the current multilateral institutions to meet the new challenges and help the whole international community, help our member states to seize the new opportunities. Therefore, the SDG Summit and the Summit of Future, they are complementing each other. They are reinforcing each other. So the very quick recap about the areas the Summit of Future will focus on is that there are 5 pillars. I believe that many of you are aware of. Pillar 1, sustainable development and financing for development. Pillar 2, international peace and security. Pillar 3, science, technology, innovation, and digital cooperation. Pillar 4, youth and future generations. Pillar 5, transforming global governance. Only by looking at all those 5 pillars, we will already know how challenging it will be to get the consensus by member states on all of those 5 areas, because they are already, do the deep dive, touching the fundamental, touching the structure, right? So that's why I feel that in the very short stay of the USG rider, he's trying to engage as many stakeholders as possible, like you, and it's going to have a bilateral with him today. And we also engaged many other civil society representatives. We engaged the stakeholders. We talked to member states. In his just 2 days visit, there are over 30 bilaterals arranged. So here, why he needs to come to the region? Because this region is not just contributing to 70% of the world population. It's not just contributing to about 70% of the global growth. It's also, at the same time, we are contributing 50% of the global emission, greenhouse gas emission. We are over 50% of the population not having the access to any social schemes. Right? We are also the population suffering from those disasters and also the floods, droughts, and the climate change introduced hazards. So we need to join the voices to present the world a picture, an Asian picture. What will be our next step? What will, if China here in the region, US, all the P5s, right, are from this region. China, US, France, all the member states are the member states of ASCAP. Can they work together to help our countries in the most needed, to help the people, the most vulnerable groups, like the youth, like the women, like the disabilities, like the older persons, for a better Asia? To charter a new path that Asia can continue to grow, but in a new, different kind of growth, in a more sustainable and in a more inclusive way. That is ASCAP's role, to facilitate the dialogue, to form this narrative, to chart a new path, to provide our analytical work to you and to our member states. At the same time, on behalf of ASCAP, I would like to express our deep, deep appreciation to your contribution, to your participation. It's not just a one day. As we see that, I always said that even today by talking to a few UN senior colleagues, senior officials, I said here we really need a younger generation, a new generation to speak louder in the area, because if you look at the different areas, for example, like digitalization, it's happening so rapidly in the region. The private sector voice and the young people that are using the social media, they are influencing many opinions. So that is the one reality. At the same time, in this region, we have to see that it's demographic shift. And that we are getting old. It's an aging society. So what ASCAP wants to facilitate, wants to contribute to the Summit of Future is that we need to have this intergenerational solidarity. It's not just about youth. We need the older generation to enrich us with their experiences. Because by the end of the day, we are going to get old. So the current young generation will be the older person in the future. So we count on their experiences, their wisdom to navigate us. We have to build this intergenerational solidarity, intergenerational equity. That is what Asia is trying to explore, in my perspective. So with all this said, and I would just say, we count on your voices to build these alliances. Asia's new, inclusive, sustainable growth, Asia's promoted intergenerational solidarity. With this, I will just end here, and I would like to take questions and have this interaction. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lan. Thanks. So Lan is saying it's a one in a generation opportunity to bring in an actionable agenda in form of Pact of the Future for implementation of the Agenda 2030. As you know, we're lagging behind. This is time that we bring in concrete actions. Just to remind friends, this side event is being organized by Global Call to Action Against Poverty, Coalition for the UN We Need, and Asia Civil Society Platform for Sustainable Development, APFSD. Floor is open, so she will be here for say 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes. So quick questions, short, very brief questions or comments. Yeah, please.
What happens after the Summit of the Future? Do we ask governments, countries, member states for commitments after this? And also, aren't we having too many conferences which loads our countries and the UN system? Thank you.
I'll take 2 more questions. Definitely one for women. Yeah, please go.
In response to
Can you be louder, sir?
in response to the speaker's mention about the generation strategies for inclusion is very good. So in Hong Kong, we just talk about aging population, and also the carer is very important. So I just wonder about the financing model. How are we going to integrate the younger people to understand about the older generation, especially the carer? Because they suffer a lot of like mental illnesses or maybe financial the burden. So what will be the financing model that maybe good practices that we can replicate the model in Hong Kong or maybe other part of the world? Thank you. I'm Dr. Young from Hong Kong.
One more. Okay, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Bunton, Alliance for Democracy in Laos. I would like to ask you about CSO in Laos. The government of Laos don't allow independent CSO, especially for SDG. The people don't have right of assembly or to tell how can we have better for living, better for no poverty or better for human lives. I feel I have a question for you. How can we make CSO? How can we work together with another CSO in ASEAN? Like system, dictatorship system, like in Laos. How can we work together for the future?
1 second,
Yes,
sorry.
okay.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Thank you. And all those questions are very good questions, Bridget. And what happens after the summit? I can't predict the outcome because the negotiation is going on right now. They recently released the zero draft. There is a very mixed feeling towards this draft because basically there are very good elements there, and by incorporating the many proposals of the Secretary General. At the same time, the member states feel that the ambition is not high enough. So what happens after the summit? I would say that also back to your question regarding we will have the summit fatigue. Well, too many summits. We were going to have a few milestone conferences even after this summit of future. So the SDG summit, we see that it's like a more midterm review because it's at the halfway point of the SDGs last year. So the summit of future is not like a standalone thing. Many of the issues, including the international financial architecture, financing for sustainable development, all of those are covered by the Summit of Future, which are crucial elements for the SDG implementation. So next year, we're going to have the financing for development for the fourth financing for development, in particular focusing on the means of implementations. That is the follow-up to the Addis Ababa Action Plan. Based on that, and that is another milestone event next year, and also I think on the 26th of February, in a few days, the General Assembly is going to discuss possibly adopt a resolution on the World Social Summit. They call the second World Summit for the Social Development as a follow-up to the Copenhagen. So if you look at all those summits that will take place after the Summit of Future, you see the coherence and the interlinkages. So I would see that that's not lose the momentum. We should make the momentum kept building so that the key elements, the key issues that is are the priorities for us can be kept under discussion for a long time. Only in such a current context with the very difficult political situations, I would say that is a very practical way to bring member states together, keep the discussion going on, to make sure that SDGs still serve as the framework. So that is my point. intergenerational solidarity and the care economy and the financing models. I believe that requires another separate discussion, because with the aging society, right, that requires a very holistic approach, not just the government. Government side more integrated policy support, and from the UN, different agencies, and not in one sector, not just like aging. I don't know, probably not every country has the one ministry. So it has to be a few ministries work together, like including national planning, including SDG commission, including and the social development. So it has to be an across whole of the government approach, in particular to address this issue. And at the same time, the financing models and the government policy orientation. And we should really encourage government to take a more financial inclusive policy orientation. At the same time, mobilize private sectors and mobilize technically, and we need also international cooperation, because it's not the one issue for one country. It's already a phenomenon in this region. And SDG localization. And I will leave this question because I have to run. I saw my assistant already showing up, and we have a platform to talk about this. There is no denying that the UN in nature is member states driven. But right now, in particular looking at the proposals of the Secretary General, there is a strong proposal to giving the civil society more voices.
Sure.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Glenn, for coming.
Thank you so much.
So we will be submitting the recommendation by end of March.
Thank you. Yeah, I look forward to join you in the future discussions and participating in your events. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, friends. So we have really less time. We'll try to wrap up before by 2030, so that we have some time for lunch, because they'll also go after 12:45. So let us try to expedite it. Now I invite Becky to give an introduction to SoTF, objectives, scope of involvement of the civil society. Becky, sorry, less time we'll have to manage. Maybe 5 minutes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I want to introduce first the C4UN, the very short slides that we have on the C4UN. I am in the steering committee of the global steering committee of a global platform called Coalition for the UN We Need. It is a civil society platform of several coalitions that are closely monitoring what is happening on the Summit of the Future. But it is before that C4UN was actually organized. The coalition is actually trying to do a lot of work in strengthening the UN system, because we want to reclaim the UN system as we the people. The Charter of the United Nations started with a declaration that it is for the people, right? So we want to focus on the reforms that needed to be done in the UN as part of SDG 17, policy coherence. And we thought that it is important that civil society organization should have a role. And then because we have been an essential component of the many declarations and the many progressive reforms that have been done all over the world through negotiations in several treaties and the normative and institutional evolution of the UN through its multilateral conferences. So the C4UN actually does a convening role, and then we want to focus also in facilitating dialogues with civil society and the governments. And then we also link up with secretariat officials, the UN regional commissions, and all of that. And the C4UN provides intel, information, partners for partners all over the world to see what is happening in the UN. We have a person that's in charge of that at the in New York, no? So we monitor the UN deliberations in all of the activities of the United Nations. So that's what C4UN is all about. So we are keenly preparing for the Summit of the Future. So this is what the Summit of the Future is going to be about. There are 11 policy areas. Our common agenda, which was the document that came out by from the Secretary General in October 2021, outlines how SDG can be accelerated, because Agenda 2030 obviously is had been lagging because of COVID impacts and all of the disasters that have happened after COVID. So it has 11 policy areas that we're focusing on. There are several policy briefs that have come out. I just want to say that the first one is safeguarding the future. There is an appointment of the UN envoy. He was here yesterday, in fact, at the plenary, and it is actually the safeguarding the future is looking at what the future is going to be about, no? So, and then the second platform is the emergency platform to be convened by the Secretary General to manage global shocks, because we know that global shocks have already impacted on not only on the achievement of the SDGs, but at least national levels have really held back the implementation of Agenda 2030. The third policy area is the meaningful inclusion of young people. It is envisioned that they will have
Am I in the right?
Yeah? No, go up. The first one. Okay, the second one.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, yeah. So we're now in the meaningful inclusion of young people. There is envisioned to be national youth consultative bodies that will be formed in every country. And then what is the key word here is meaningful participation and youth engagement, no? So they aim to have a framework for youth participation that will be more inclusive and more meaningful and not just token. And then it also aims to have the UN, the youth participate in decision policy making processes, and then a standing youth town hall, no? So there will be open discussions to be managed by the youth envoy at the UN itself. And then number 4 policy area is measuring what we value. They are aiming to include metrics to complement the gross domestic product. It's not only an economic activity, aggregation of all economic activities happening in all of our countries, but also taking stock of environmental impacts and measuring this and other statistical and data capacities that need to be augmented at the national level.
Becky, please try to wind up in a minute, sir.
Yeah. And then the others are open, free, space, digital future, because there's going to be a digital compact. And then it is very important for us to engage in the use of science, technology, and innovation, because everything is being digitized, and Asia is really running fast on this area. But digital security is an issue all over. And the importance of this is the governance of the digital spaces, because they're all privately owned. Most of them are all privately owned. So we cannot allow this to happen, that there is no safeguarding of the digital spaces where we are. And then, of course, the global financial system. It's important to have the rethinking of the global architecture. We have a lot of proposals that have come from civil society in all of the FFDs that have happened since Monterey in 2006 and all of those. But nothing has happened in terms of systemic changes that we need, especially in governing, tax architectures.
Maybe I think we'll have to wind up here.
Yeah, wait. I need to I need to inform everybody because these are the official policy areas that we need to be looking at in terms of our positioning, no? So we cannot let this go. And then space, the governance of space and outer space. I mean, because there are conflicts that are actually being not being governed, not being agreed upon on the use of space. And then we have the new agenda for peace. We all know what is happening in Gaza. We all know what is happening in Myanmar here, in Asia. So a lot of conflicts in terms of disputes in territories, including my country and China, and all of those in the Northeast Asia region. So transforming education is very important because we have the Transforming Education Summit in 2022, and those agreements that need to be sped up in terms of national capacity building, okay? And education as a public good.
Becky, thanks. I think let's wind up here. We'll
Okay.
have to give space,
The
space
last
to other
one is the UN reform. So UN reform, we all have to contribute to that. So anyway, we'll be sharing all of this, and you can go to the sites on the 11 policy briefs. We all need to look at those very important policy issues so we can meaningfully have an Asian position to shape our
Thanks Becky for
Thank you.
depending the scope of engagement of civil society. Then I invite Arjun Bhattarai, NGO Federation of Nepal, who will be sharing about the World Social Forum that happened in Kathmandu last week.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you very much. So
5 minutes for you.
Okay, dear speakers, excellency, delegate and participants. So I just read my statement so I can save my time. So I am sharing briefly about what happened in Nepal. Just recently we came. So 16th edition of World Social Forum organizing from 15th February to 19th February in Nepal, and over 50,000 participants and over 1,400 organizations and 94 countries attendance in Nepal. And over 500 events, thematic panels, self-organized activity, cultures, programs, and activity were organized which aim to providing networking, opportunity, and collective actions, as well as fostering discussion and formulating strategy for a more equitable and sustainable futures. The participants deliberated on a wide range of pressing issues, including economic inequality, human rights, democracy, civic space, social justice, climate justice, citizen engagement, right to information, labor, migration, caste-based discrimination, people economy, gender equality, peace and sustainable development, among many others. The event came to the conclusion with 60 deliberations from organizations worldwide, and they enforced collective action towards the realizing another and more just world. The first meeting of the WSF was held in Porto Alegre, Brazil in 2001, and as an alternative to the World Economic Forum in Davos, and has its motto, another world is possible. A theme that has added relevance because of the global climate breakdown, conflict, and the spirit of the fundamentalist and conservative neoliberal across the globe. In other hand, the world is moving towards a challenging period of political, economic, environment crisis. The process of globalism, mass capitalism, new neoliberalism have created a system of raging inequality. Not only this, we peoples are facing many challenges, including climate change, global food insecurity, violence, conflict, pandemic, and geopolitical tension. Most of the mankind is stuck in suffering. So the WS is being more significant and valuable for CSO across the globe due to the Secretary General of the UN had expressed its support in its solidarity message to WSF 2024. So dear delegates, the outcomes of WS is very relevant towards shaping the summit of the future, especially for the least developed countries, land-locked countries, and the small island countries, because Bangladesh, Nepal, Laos, PDA have started graduation process and going to graduate on 2026. So I have prepared some recommendation for especially CSOs. So I want to read this recommendation, and it will help you this the summit for the future shaping their own countries. The CSOs should work to promote solidarity and use their unique on-ground experience to strategize future actions, plan to steer discussion with the government towards civic space, democracy, human rights, good governance, accountability, and transparency. The capacity of competency of CSOs should be strengthened through the development of both hard and soft skills. The work of the CSOs should be primarily geared towards achieving the SDG and making the progress smoother. And the CSO growth, the government should share costs as associated with their operations. Large NGOs and CSOs should step forward to help medium and small NGOs, youth organizations by providing financial support to help continue their operations smoothly. CSOs should focus on developing human resources to reduce their dependency on external financial support. CSOs should focus on gender equality, include youth and marginal people and their work, and developing skills and human resources in futures development process. Localize, decentralize the concept, idea, and formation about SDG summit. Empower, involve, engage youth on all steps of decision making. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And very specific recommendations are coming from the World Social Forum. So next I invite Anselmo Lee, the APFSD coordinator, to share the Asia civil society comments on the zero draft of the Pact of the Future. Anselmo, 10 minutes. Sorry, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Anselmo Lee. I'm the regional coordinator of the Asia Civil Society Partnership for SDG. I have prepared a PowerPoint, but there are a lot. So if you give me your email, I will forward that to you, so they can read. So let me highlight some of the key points in 10 minutes. The next. So we have this side event, and since time is very short, we are going to have the evening session with more in-depth discussion with a beer. So you are more welcome to join if you are interested. So as you see, these are outcome documents. The 5 chapters already introduced. Next one. And then there is a chapeau, that means a general introduction, declaration part. The more details are in the paragraph 19 to 148. By the way, please raise your hand if you have read this document, the zero draft. Let me see. Okay, at least 20-30%. Okay, good. Okay, next. So these are the reference documents. There are a lot, for instance, GCAP, APS, we have organized the webinar 5 times to introduce this policy brief 5 times. Some of you participate as a panel, as a participant. And also, the last year, there was a Global Futures Forum by C4UN. There was a draft, the interim people's pact for the Global Futures Summit. So this is one draft 1 year ago. And then last year, we had also Regional People's Assembly before UN General Assembly, SG Summit by GCAP. So we have a lot of documents. So this is nothing new. So we have to pick up some of the key issues, put again in the context of the Summit of the Future. And also, just a minute. Okay, please go back. Sorry. And also, as you know, this zero draft was released 26th of January. And already many CSOs, members of major group and stakeholders, they already submitted their opinion, and also civicals, many others. And then now, many CSOs are giving their comment on this zero draft. So I will share with you. I have collected several. I will share with you later. Next. And this is a webinar schedule. Next. So these 5 pillars, as you know, there's 11 policy briefs. And also 11 policy briefs come from 12 commitments of UN 75th anniversary declaration. So you can see the sequence, the process. 12 commitments into the 11 policy briefs, now 5 chapters or 5 pillars. Next. So these are the detailed issue of each pillars. And then, so then 4, these are 2 additional documents called Global Digital Compact and Declaration of Future Generation. They are going to put all the important points into these 2 annexes, 3 and 4 pillars. And very interestingly, whenever this video UN document, already they begin the UN Charter, Universal Declaration, or all blah 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 blah. But this time, what's new? They added a new one after 2020. First, Care Commitment, UN Common Agenda, and Food Summit, Food System Summit, Transform Education, and then Water Conference, of course, second SDG Summit, and high-level meeting pandemic, and universal health coverage, and also fight against tuberculosis. There are so many meetings already. So this is like a culmination of all the meetings since 2020, and also particularly after the second SDG Summit. Next. So already, if you read carefully, I was trying to find out, what has been already agreed. So these are already agreed. That's why they put specifically in this zero draft. First one is international conference financing for development post Addis Ababa. But she mentioned in the beginning, she from UN said there will be a social summit, Copenhagen plus 30, but I couldn't find any reference in the zero document. So we have to check when and how there will be the Copenhagen plus 30. And then peace building account, it's very interesting, biannual summit among G20, ECOSOC, UN Secretary General, and IFI. That means IMF World Bank. So now UN is reaching out, and also G20 reaching out. They are discussing, because this is as you know, the systemic problem. UN has legitimacy, no power. G20 has no legitimacy, they have a power, influence. So now they are meeting finally, the form of biannual summit. Because some of us engaged the G20 summit, as you know. And the UN Secretary General Scientific Advisory Board, the paragraph 92, and the Youth Office already agreed. And the Global Youth Investment Platform, and lastly, Emergency Platform. This already mentioned, that means more or less agreed. So now question is the details, modalities. Next one. Now, CSO comment. This is not to present the CSO comment, but just give some idea how we can collaborate together. So I pick up some of the points from previous documents and also the CSO document. So we are engaging. We are not endorsing this zero draft. I want to make it clear from the beginning. CSO, we are engaging, we are critical, yet constructively we want to influence the process. Okay? That's why our input, critical input is very important. But business as usual, when I read this document, so it's a mental torture, again, the reading UN document. Very boring at the same time. I need to pay really attention, reading between the lines, even behind the lines, trying to catch up. What are they hiding, What is missing, So I found some. So it's a very much business as usual, rhetoric, the peril, rescue, or blah, blah, blah. But I don't feel urgency, from the document. Maybe I'm used to this type of blah, blah jargon, So not bold, not ambitious, climate, warming, but that's why we have to make it more radical, Okay. And then selective recognition of existing. They select, that means if one country says no, they cannot put, So all the important, the international commitment, agreement, which we think is important, not there, So very selective, And also no recognition or clear recognition of civil society, It's too much government-oriented, intergovernmental negotiation, and very little space for CSO. We just give input, but we don't know how our input processed in this negotiation process. We don't know. And also no clear mention of, they mention of human rights, but nothing concrete. There's no mention about ratification or all this concrete, just rhetoric. So next. And then chapter 1, sustainable development and financial development. This is a some 3 minutes. Okay, let's quick. These are the sum of one. ILO no mention, binding treatment, treaty on transnational cooperation, which many of us are working, not there. So you see the big gap, what we are working for and what appear in the summit. Okay, next. And then the chapter 2, peace and security. Maybe this is one of the most important agenda, most contentious issue, because IFI system already discussed a lot, but this is something new agenda for peace, which is very, very important, but it can be very, very controversial. Already two agreed, peace building account, biennial summit among this one, and then we have been advocating common security, but still all these documents collective security, which is very different from common. And also, there is no mention about UN Security Council Resolution 1325, and the use also, and the TPN. Many things are missing in this, but nevertheless, there are some small here and there, the progress, but I don't know whether that's enough, never enough. Next. Chapter 3, Science, Technology, Innovation. And again, this global digital compare, of course, we can welcome, and also scientific advice welcome. And also, but this is not mentioned about the surveillance and the shrinking digital space a lot. So this is not properly addressed. And also internet governance issues, and then AI. They say we are going to discuss, but there's no concrete how. Maybe the European Parliament, the first international, the legal documents can be taken up, hopefully in this UN process. Next one, chapter 4, youth future generation. We welcome 2. And then still meaningful youth participation in political decision making is a big question, and also intergenerational equity was solidarity. Next, last one, global governance, emerging platform welcome, but we need to really address imbalance between global north and global south. There is a target 16.8 really forgotten. Even UN deliberately ignore this target 16.8. Even civil we don't know. This one very, very important. Broadening, strengthening partner developing country institution global governance. So this has to be really treated as a top priority in this process. And we have a consultative status, and then major group and stakeholder. Is it enough? But it was not addressed in this zero document. And there's a campaign among some CSO, Parliamentary Assembly, now General Assembly by the executive bureaucrats. What about our elected the parliamentarian? Where is the space for them? And also World Citizen Initiative, that means like a petition. National, we have a petition system, right? We make a petition to local parliament, local government, and then they have to address something like that. Can we do so that we can make a global petition to UN General Assembly or Security Council? So that these are direct participation of citizens. The global affairs. Lastly, civil society envoy, no mention. Youth, yes, but not civil society envoy. So these are some of the missing issues which have been working. So let's collect more ideas and positions so that we can submit in this process. Last one, way forward. So now it's a zero draft. By the end of the March, they are going to produce first official negotiation document with the 2 annexes. See, we have 2 months, 1 month, 1.5 months. So that's why I thought we need to have a more consultation dialogue nationally and also policy dialogue with our government, because Asian governments are not interested at all in this. These all the global facilities, they are Europe or Africa, Jamaica, Asian government knows. So we need to really push Asian government to get. And the future schedule, we have a CSO meeting, global CSO meeting, UN Civil Society Conference. It's an official preparatory meeting, the May 9 to 10, Nairobi. In Nairobi, Africa, and then we don't know yet. Probably we can have Asia Futures Forum has a more in-depth before, after Nairobi, before the UN Summit of the Future. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for all these details. Before opening the floor, Anselmo, colleagues, we already have a kind of draft recommendation which Anselmo has, which has captured the discussion from several series of webinars and physical meetings, online meetings, sorry. If possible at one point we share with members for their feedback, kindly register your names. There are some outside and some inside also pages. So before I go open the floor, I have Ram Prasad Subedi, who is from Nepal SDG Forum. He has been part of the VNR process in civil society engagement in the VNR process in Nepal. We're going to take 2 minutes. 1 or 2 minutes to reflect 4 or 5 recommendations, not more. Yeah.
Thank you for the delegate, science and colleagues. First of all, I like to many thanks for the opportunity. As NGO Federation is big platform of Nepal, we have established in NGO Federation Secretariat of Nepal SDG Forum, and we divided thematic convener and also co-convener, and regularly we discuss this matter with government and policy makers, including parliament also. And I think in Nepal, civil society participant regularly we discuss, but we feel the partnership is lack. Only capital we discuss many matter in SDG localization. In local level, there is not more activities. Also some data gaps in local level. That's why we already passed 8 years in SDG localization, but it's still not feeling in a local level to start the activities. It is a big challenge. Also, Nepal is a development country, so that for the implementing of SDG, it is the gaps of budget also. It is also a big challenge. Also, we are facing some financial gaps.
Ramji, sorry, I have to cut you short. I'm taking 2 recommendations from you. One, the localization of SDGs is not happening. 2, countries like Nepal, the LDCs, less developed countries, need actually resources to fund the SDGs. Ramji, sorry, I have to cut you short. I'll open the floor for suggestions and comments. Yeah. Yes, please, you in the back. Yeah, you.
Yes, I would just like to ask.
Nancy and Nancy.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
please.
I would just like to ask for clarification. When you talk about meaningful participation of young generations, you always use the term youth. But where is the question of children? I think it should always be children and youth if you're talking about younger generations, because you miss out a very big part of the population if you only talk about youth. Thank you.
Thanks. Shiva?
Yeah, thank you, Anselmo. Your presentation is very constructive. My question is...
you can question and comment also. Give suggestions also. Brief.
Yeah, that's why. One is you mentioned about the CSO participation in globally, but my question is, yes, what about the Asia? Because you also mentioned about the Asian states non-participation. What about the Asian civil society participation? Particularly you all engaged. But my question is, how about the local level or grassroots level civil society participation in the future, this future summit?
Okay, Alia? Before the Alia goes. Yeah, Alia, go ahead. Introduce yourself, Alia.
Thank you so much. My name is Abia Akram.
Alia, yeah.
Yeah. I'm representing the Equal World Campaign of Lifesavers and also the Disability Constituency. And today in 2024, when we see those who are the furthest left behind are the persons with disabilities, young people with disabilities, and it's a huge number. We have seen in the 2023 agenda, the summit political declaration, and member states committed to ensure that persons with disabilities actively participate in the equality benefit from the sustainable development. But none of these are reflected in the Pact for the Future Zero draft. And we urge all the stakeholders and the member states, and especially the civil society organizations, to listen and learn from the lived experiences of persons with disability, the young people, open space for meaningful participation, engagement, so we can find the solutions that are needed. Let's work together and we can just talk about that to ensure the Pact for the Future delivers the promises and includes the furthest behind and leave no one behind.
Sure, thanks.
One
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, please go ahead, and then you, and then you are the last person. Yeah, please.
Hello, good morning, colleagues. I'm Cecilia Soriano. I'm from the Global Campaign for Education, but I work with the Asia South Pacific Association for Basic and Adult Education. One suggestion is in the financing for development and also in global governance, there is an initiative to transform the financial architecture, and there was reference to improving the tax cooperation. But we would like to propose that we include the term legally binding tax convention, because this way the UN Tax Convention will be enforced in countries. So there is a reference there with regards to tax cooperation, but we would like to suggest legally binding. And then the second one is on, we know that transforming education was part of the policy briefs, but in October they dropped the transforming education. Is it possible to include education in the elements, within the elements, if not a standalone chapter?
Okay, thanks. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. This is Shankar representing Empower India, the grassroots organization which is working for the development for the past 30 years. And I am the focal point person for APFSD in aging and elderly also. My concern is nowadays the space for civil society is shrinking, especially in Asian countries. And the political scenario is also very much dangerous to CSOs. So, could you please comment on it? Thank you.
Okay, and please go ahead. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Namaste. I am Benu Maya Gurung from Alliance Against Trafficking in Women and Children in Nepal. And we are, and myself is the co-convener of Goal 5. We are trying to make our government accountable. So my suggestion is, what we have to be first accountable also. So my suggestion is required suggestion for the organizer is also, I'm expecting because Goal 5 is talk about the 50-50, 50-50 by 30-30. But I bit disappointed to see the panel because we are among the 7, we are 2 only women. So if we are not accountable, make ourselves accountable, so how to make our government accountable? So my suggestion in coming days, please keep this in mind, the agenda, the goal we are trying to achieve. So at least we have tried to from our side first,
Thanks.
then we'll do others also.
No,
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing out. We knew it. But no, sorry. We'll get 1 minute response from the panels. If you continue, we'll have to miss the launch because they'll be there that they have to clean it up by 45. So we at least have to have 10 minutes for this. So who goes first? Very brief 1 minute response. Do we start from Becky? To any of the questions? Just 1 minute.
Yeah. In terms of the global civil society, Asian civil society, it is planned, but we don't have funding. So we're trying to do a lot of resource mobilization, and most of us will want to raise funds forever. But as of now, there is definitely no funds yet. That's why we're trying to mobilize. So let's help each other mobilize. So most of us, in fact, here at APFSD are self-funded. There is really a drying up of support everywhere. And then Nairobi in May, it is the UNDGC that's organizing that. Just to tell you the backstory, C4UN, me and Maria Fernanda Espinosa, who was the former president of the General Assembly, we pitched this to Germany, which is the convener, but Germany had to give it to the UN because of bureaucratic arrangements, not directly to civil society. So this is really constricted civil society space. That's why we have been pushing for civil society in the intergovernmentals, like the open working group processes during the negotiations for SDG, no, in 2013 and 2014. But there are in fact a lot of opposition from countries, from the states, no? The like-minded group led by Pakistan, not all of the members of the LMG, they actually protested why there are civil society organizations there. They don't want it. No, I'm saying all of this because this is important for civil society space opening, right? Just to let you know.
Yeah, so thanks. Ramji, very briefly, 1 minute.
Actually, we have to raise the question with government. How we society engage in SDG localization, because almost they create the many hurdles in legally or documented, but Also, they also comment some orally, but still we are not feeling the real partnership as a civil society.
Thanks. Accountability of the government. Answer.
Yeah, okay. Just I want to answer the question of civic space. Of course, civic space across the regions, and somehow Nepal is still good. So what we decide in the WSA, we need to make like kinds of networking alliance in the regions to establish the civic space across the region. So that already started the process. So we have to collective actions very important to fight with this authoritarian region.
Answer.
Okay. There's a conference fatigue. There are so many meetings, and so very. I advise not to read all these documents because it can be time consuming. So you have to stretch very well energy. But if you are to get what you are working, you have to find out who you have to give. So we have a network, GCAP, APFSD, and so on and so on. So we can work together. And then this soft is now one of the many events. It's a part of the process. I think it's very important for us to keep that perspective. It's not just one-time event. The process. That means you have a summit. After this, UN will begin again soon. The post-SDG agenda session. This is starting. So we need to have a really long-term strategy.
Correct. So thanks, Anselmo. Thanks, Abdul Bhai. Bhotap, thanks. One line from me at the summing up of moderator. No shortcut.
Okay.
Things are bad,
you,
but we'll have to push as civil society will continue to push.
Distinguished panelists and distinguished participants and co-travelers. It's a very short time. We are running out of time all the time. Today also. And I would love to respond many of our colleagues, those who are on the same boat, fighting to end inequality everywhere, fighting to end poverty everywhere. So I think it's a good kind of starting, and I would like to thank Ms. Lin Yang. She raised some issue and she participated with us as a UN personnel. And she talked about regarding the future, summit of the future. And you see, we have been struggling for SDGs from last 10, 15 years. Then an agreement came on the table. So I am just concluding this. Now we are preparing for summit for the future because we need to accelerate SDGs. Because the question of inequality, fighting poverty, and governance, accountability, everything is very important till now. So I like to, actually I had taken notes, but I'm not giving that. I'm just concluding my remarks that we need meaningful participation. That has been raised by the participants here. Meaningful means, as Anselmo was saying, that a lot of documents, if we engage ourselves to see all the documents, then we are missing the current stream. What kind of challenge we are facing all over the world. So SDG only 12% achieved on track. So we are in a gloomy situation. By want to see, we are a pessimist. We are not. So we want to see a new world, shiny world, where all the problems will be solved and people from all segments, not only CSOs, but here last comment is that CSO engagement process is very weak in the UN system. That is our main concern. So as a GCAP, I am as a GCAPer, we call upon all the friends assembled here to build bigger alliances everywhere, at national level and global level. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks all the panelists and all the participants. If you have dropped your email ID, if you not, please register. Seats are there. We'll connect you for further accommodations. I close this session here. Thanks. And the launch is available So please, we have to finish launch also in 10 minutes. Really less time. Thank you very much.
Hello, we can have a group. We will be meeting in the World Social Forum. That is the open space.
One group photo. Thank you for raising the visa.
Group photo. Can we have a group photo? Yeah. Sorry.